I'm in the hearing room of the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, and back with me now, the triumvirate of John McCain, Joe Lieberman, and Lindsey Graham. Welcome back to all three of you. Lindsey Graham, you said this week you just got re-elected. This is to President Obama. How about doing something big that isn't liberal? How about doing something big that really is bipartisan? Every big idea that President Obama has is a liberal idea that drowns us in debt. How about manning up here, Mr. President, and use your mandate to bring this country to stop us from becoming Greece?
Yeah.
Man up Barack Obama.
Absolutely.
Strong words.
Well, he has a chance to be an historic president. What makes us Greece? It's not because the tax code is at 35% versus 39.6. What's going to make this country Greece, like every other Western nation, we're retiring at 10,000 a day in terms of baby boomers. We have 3 workers for every retiree. In 20 years, we'll have 2. Medicare and Social Security combined are about $40 trillion underfunded. Here's the good news. If you did what Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan chose to do, reform entitlements, we become the most dominant place on the planet pretty quickly. So what I would plead with the president to do is use this mandate. We'll do revenue because we should. Let's do it smartly. But what keeps us from becoming the country we all want to be and damns the future generations of America is unsustainable entitlement spending. And these programs are worth saving. When I was 21, my mom died. When I was 22, my dad died. And if it weren't for Social Security survivor benefits, my sister had never gone to college. Social Security is going to fail. So, Mr. President, work with Republicans to adjust the age for retirement and means test benefits. When I was 22, we needed the 300-something bucks that we got a month. I'm 57, I have no kids. I could easily give up $400 in retirement from Social Security to help people who can't.
Senator Lieberman, here's a reality, I guess, for the Republicans, and it's that President Obama has won a second term.
Right.
So in many ways, he won the argument, and now I'm sure he's thinking about history and legacy, and he hasn't got to worry about being re-elected. That gives you a power, perhaps, that you don't have in a first term. But he's winning this argument in this sense, I think, on the fiscal cliff debate. He has managed to box the Republicans into a place you just don't want to be, where it looks like you're prepared to allow the middle class of America to get taxed from January onwards at a higher level to save the backsides of the wealthiest 2% of Americans, when 70% of all Americans polls say we want the 2% to be paying more tax. That argument's gone, hasn't it?
Yes, it is. I mean, look, the president can rightly say that he made clear during the campaign for re-election that this was the beginning of how he was going to deal with our national debt problems, raise taxes on the top 2%. So he comes in with the mandate, and now he continues to advocate it, and it gets great support from the American people. I think it's part of a solution to our debt problem. But if you raise taxes the way the president wants, it fills about 7% of the hole we've got now in our national debt.
But see, but I would say back to that, it is still 7%. What he also has to do is reduce the entitlements.
Yeah, this is the point.
Where you guys are the most experienced senators in Washington. Where is this deal, in the end, you think, going to wash up?
You know what? The question is whether we have the political will to put the deal together that most people on both sides, both parties will tell you is what has to happen. And that is, yes, raise taxes, raise revenues. You got to do that in fairness and in political honesty and practicality. And the second is the biggest driver of the debt is not the regular spending of our government on things like defense and homeland security, education, environmental protection. It's so-called entitlements. You got to curtail the increase in spending on things like Medicare. They're putting us in the hole. And that's the bargain.
But what you don't want to do, though, Senator Graham, you don't want to make it punitive for people to make charitable donations, for example. To me, that's another lose argument for the Republicans. You've got to be very careful where you encourage the cutting of entitlements, right?
Well, yeah. One thing I don't think I should ask a Democrat to do is turn Medicare into a voucher program. You know, the Paul Ryan budget had a premium support system, which I think makes sense, but a lot of the people on the left are not going to go there. But I think we could adjust the age of eligibility for Medicare from 65 to 67 over the next 30 years. Right. You could ask all 3 of us to pay the full cost of Part B premiums. And when it comes to prescription drug, the prescription drug benefit, make us pay the full cost. We can afford it. But here's what I would say, how this movie ends, and that's your question.
Yeah.
We will wind up losing on the probably the rate issue by the end of the year to some extent. I think capping deductions is a better way to generate revenue, but there'll come a time in February and March where we have to raise the debt ceiling. And when you're $16 trillion in debt, somebody in this place needs to say, stop borrowing until you address why we're in debt. I will not raise the debt ceiling ever again until we get significant entitlement reform, because if we don't reform entitlements, we're going to become Greece. So this fight goes from the end of the year to raising the debt ceiling in February and March. And that's a chance for the president to lead this nation, to get Republicans and Democrats in a room and do something I wanted to do for 20 years, save Social Security and Medicare from bankruptcy and the country from becoming Greece. But if he doesn't lead, there's going to be one hell of a fight over raising the debt ceiling.
John McCain, in the end, the Republicans, whatever is being said right now, are going to have to acquiesce to him on that point, for him to want to acquiesce to what the Republicans want on entitlements.
I think that's very possible that that could be the outcome, and I agree with you. He won the election, and he has the upper hand, and he has the upper hand in public opinion polls right now, as you mentioned. But at the same time, it seems to me the way you do these things that I've seen in the past is call people over and sit down and start having conversations.
Well, why isn't that happening?
Don't go out and can't continue the campaign that is over.
Right, but I think there's blame on both sides there. There seems to be a strange disconnect between Speaker Boehner, for example, and the president. When you compare it to Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, or even Newt Gingrich in the second term of Bill Clinton, both of them told me, Clinton and Gingrich, they would get in a room, often throw out all the advisors, thrash out a deal. Well, I see no sense of that relationship.
Maybe they began that on Sunday. I mean, I have the feeling that if you really left it to the president and the Speaker, Obama and Boehner, they could work it out. Now, they got forces behind both of them that'll try to separate them, but that's where their leadership it comes into play. Look, this country, I'd rather be an American economically poised for the future than a citizen of any other country in the world. What's standing in the way of us really surging economically is the government. And if we can get together and adopt a bipartisan long-term debt reduction plan, I think our economy is going to take off.
Well said. Well said. We're going to leave it there, because I want to get into foreign policy now. You are the three amigos, the experts in this genre. I want to talk about the Middle East exploding, as you've hinted at, and also about Benghazi and Susan Rice, which I know is a favourite subject of yours, Senator.
So good of you, Piers.